guys, it's Lena from StudioR12. Thanks for joining us today for another live. I am so excited to be here with all of you and to be painting this beautiful farmhouse Christmas sign from our new Christmas collection. I love this stencil. I think it is so beautiful and it can go in so many directions. You can take it really rustic, you can make it really colorful like I'm going to today. You can go classic Christmas. You can do colors that will make it fade seamlessly into your already existing farmhouse decor. It's just a super versatile stencil. So be sure you pick one up. It's in the link right in the description, so be sure if you're looking for this stencil to purchase today, or the board that we're using, or any of the brushes, or any of the tools, you be sure to check the description, the link in our description, the link in our description, and you will see all of these items right there on that page, okay? So, I also am so excited to announce that we're gonna be doing 3 giveaways today. So we're gonna be doing a small giveaway of these 5-pack tool sets here. They're brush sets. 5-pack brush sets, okay? I keep calling them stenciling tools because they're basically all you need to stencil. You need a stencil and these brushes and you can do it, right? They're the key tools to stenciling. So you're gonna get this 5-pack. 2 people today for liking and sharing are gonna get one of these packs, right? So I've got 2 of these to give away today. And then I have a grand prize winner today. And I am not telling you until the end of the video what the grand prize is. So be sure you stay tuned until the end to find out what our grand prize will be. And in order to be entered to win for the grand prize, you need to like, share, and comment. So be sure you comment. Also, throughout the video, we love interacting with you. I love hearing from you. So be sure you're telling us what you think, what you like. If you have questions, ask away. If you love our project, give us some hearts, some thumbs up. Be sure you're just interacting. We love when you interact with us because we can interact with you back, right? It helps us feel like an art community. So, I'm ready to jump in if you guys are. Today's project, I'm working a lot with shading and a lot of the ombre kind of thing. So, if that's something you're interested in, that's a lot of the technique we're gonna be using today. I went ahead and based my board white. It was just a simple white base, so I didn't think you wanted to see that. And then, since I was working with red, I know if you've ever watched any of our videos before, you know how difficult red is to cover, especially on white since it keeps turning pink, right? So I went ahead and did a lot of my red, and I'm just gonna touch up over it so I can show you the technique. And I did half of my lettering here, so I give us a good place to start so we don't have to watch the paint dry, right? So let's go ahead and jump in. What I've got here on my palette paper, I'm gonna move this so we can maybe see it a little bit better. I have used like a butterscotch kind of yellow here, and then this brown. So I use kind of a cocoa brown. And then also I'm picking up this red, and it's that tone of red I use a lot, that brick red. And I'm gonna be mixing both of those, the yellow and the red, with that brown, that same brown. And I'm gonna be mixing them using my brush today. So I'm gonna do about a 1-to-1. So I'm gonna dip in the yellow and dip in the brown, mix them here on my palette paper. I'm just mixing it with my brush, right? And I actually think it's a little darker than what I wanted it to be. So then I ended up, I'm gonna pick up a little bit more yellow. Now, a lot of times when I'm working on these projects, if you work DIY at home, anything like that, you probably know just how much a back and forth there is with projects like these, right? So sometimes you just kind of have to play with it until you get the color, the tone that you like, right? All right, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna just paint the whole thing over this yellow I just created, and I have too much paint on my brush. Whenever you're mixing with your brush, you have to be really cautious and really work off your, I don't really want to work on my project. Really work your brush off, so that's better. So if you see those bristle lines right there, that's how I knew I had too much paint. So if you're ever like, I can't tell if I have too much paint on my brush, how do you know? When you start seeing bristle lines, that's when you know. Like you can see the, I don't know how else to describe the lines through the paint. Actually, this would be, if you want to zoom in on that and show them exactly what I'm talking about. The difference between this O here and how dusty it is, and then these swirls, the visible lines through the H there. That's how I knew I had too much paint. Whenever you're seeing visible lines like that, it's too much. So I'm gonna go back in here. And I'm gonna mix this, and I'm gonna mix it just like a little bit darker of a color now. Okay, and again, and if you're loading, sometimes something I have to do is I take my paper towel and I'll even like squeeze my bristles, and you get so much paint out. Just a goofy, sloppy amount of paint. And I'm gonna work now from my bottom up, and right there on that H, it's not gonna wanna take paint for a little while because I got way too much. So, what I'm gonna do is finish this up really quick, and then I'm gonna just come over here. So, I want some lighter spots, so I get some gradation, there's the word, on my lines here. So I'm just gonna be dipping into that yellow, and there's already brown in it because there's brown on my brush. I'm using this dirty brush. I'm just adding in a brighter yellow, and it's gonna look really funny and patchy on your stencil. It just sometimes doesn't look right on your stencil, but it always looks so good on your final project. So I'm just working that there in a couple of spots, and this still needs a minute. So I'm gonna get away from that, and I'm gonna show you kind of what I'm gonna do here on this green. Let's go on to these green trees. Now, I'm not planning on mixing anything with my green. I can use the same green and just vary my coats, vary the amount of places. Like I can give this spot 2 layers, 3 layers, and this only 1, so that I'm getting variation. You could do it that way, which is what I'm planning on doing. Now I have a bottle of white here as a backup plan, because when I was doing this project here and I was working through it, one of the things that I discovered was sometimes it was just not giving me what I wanted. So what you can do is take some white and just run some white over places you just want like lighter. So I think I'm just gonna run this over to give it a coat, but this is where, you know, my brush is older, I've not got as much paint on it now. Just blending it in, and when you're doing a project, I think I always say this, but I'm gonna say it again. I just always have to check. And I think that looks great. So I've got some variation there in the coats, and that's all I had to do was just change the coat. So I didn't even have to use the white this time. And then when you're laying your stencil back down, super important to make sure you get it back in the same place, right? Okay, so laying it back down, and then I like this swirl here. I got this one where it was. When I painted this, I had to use white on this curl here. So if you look right here where I'm rubbing my finger, and then right here, I worked white over it. So it does exactly the same thing as this, right? It's the same effect, just a different way to achieve it. You can do it with a coat layer process. If that's not working for you, because sometimes if you're like me, things just don't always work the way you think they're going to, or the way they normally do for you, sometimes you have to just improvise. So that's why I keep the bottle of white here when I know I'm gonna be doing something like this. And I will show you what I mean, because I'm gonna do the swirl down here for you right now. So I'm gonna paint it green. And I will say, if you haven't bought our brushes yet, a brush set from us, or if you're one of our lucky winners today, a stencil like this is great for these tiny brushes. When I painted the original here, I used all 5 of these sizes. So they're super great to have on hand. They help you, you can fake it, or tape off other ways, but it's just a lot faster if you don't have to do that kind of thing, right? You just can have a brush that fits the size. Right here. And I'm wondering, like, who has farmhouse decor in your home, or who like decorates in farmhouse? Because if you do, this is a stencil for you. It literally says Farmhouse Christmas. So cute. It would go perfect in your house. If that's you, I'm curious to know. Tell us in the comments so I can know, because I'm nosy. I have a farmhouse decor. I'm gonna let that dry a little more. I'm gonna go back to my yellow now. Again, mixing with my brush here. Rubbing off really good on my paper towel. And I'm starting from the bottom because that's where I want it to be the darkest. So I'm going to do along the bottom of my whole bit here, and then I'm going to come back up and work up my letters. It might not make much of a difference at first, or even really seem to make one at all for you, but it's just a little safeguard I provide for myself. It's harder if you have to undo something. Like if I start at the top and come down, that's where my paint's going to be the thickest and the freshest, right? So it's going to technically, you know, in theory, it'll be the darkest. So when I'm trying to worry about gradiating my coats and doing like layers and things, I always try to work from the bottom, or work from wherever I want the darkness, which I usually think the bottom. So when you're thinking about shadows. Now I'm going to actually stipple here because that H was just like kind of funny. So I'm just going to stipple it to kind of patch this together. Kind of blend it out a little bit. And now I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to do a lot more yellow on my brush to go along the top of this. And I'm actually going to do it along the top of here too. It's not as bright over the whole thing as I would like it to be. And I honestly don't want this project to be, this farmhouse lettering here to be too light dark. So we're going to go back to here in a minute and gradiate and kind of tap some light in to those dark spots along the bottom anyway. And if you do this like I am too when your paint is a little wet right here, that'll save you from having to mix here because it'll just mix right on your board. So just that little bit of just the yellow by itself mixing with the paint that's already there, mixing with the paint that's on my brush, right? It's gonna warm it up just enough, and I'm working that across the top. Typically I would probably end up doing the opposite. I usually end up having to darken things, but I got it a little darker than normal today. So we get to play a different game. All right, so I've tapped in some of these places, some really light stuff. Now I'm gonna rub my brush off really, really good. I'm just gonna run it back over them, over those places, just to feather it in. Because I do want it darker at the bottom, but I also want some gradiating color, right? I want to be sure that my color, yeah. So it looks so good. So see how you've got a little bit of light in here and you've got dark fading through. I actually want to darken that M up just a little bit when I'm looking at it. He's a little funky. So this is actually my favorite part about painting. I don't know what yours is. I would love to hear what your favorite thing about painting is. My favorite thing is actually the give and take you have when you're working with paint. That sometimes it's just not what you thought it was going to be, and you've got to go back over it. Just that things they change. I just like that. I like that it's adaptable, right? And I like the give and take you get when you're painting. Or what you guys like. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, and that's exactly what I did. That same step process there is what I did for the yellow line as well, this lining here. My stencil is not lined up right. There we go. I'm gonna throw that in the water because I'm actually gonna be done with that. I think it's beautiful. I'm gonna finish this green bit out here. And this is all, and so for the red here, I'll talk about the red as well while I go ahead and put on another coat here. What I did for the red, I'm gonna pause myself. I'm gonna get ahead of myself here. What I did for the red was I just based it one time in the true red here itself, and then I mixed them together. Again, same way I did with the yellow and the brown, and I ran it along the middle and the bottom, and then I made it just a little darker and ran across the bottom. And I did this red here on the lines the same way that I did this, which is the same way that I did this, which is I just mixed it and patched it, and I darkened the corners, and then I patched in some true red, just the red by itself, not really the color true red, just the red without the brown mix, and just patched. So there's highlight and low light and corners and anchors and all sorts of pretty things like that. So that's kind of how I worked with those. Now, for the green, what I'm gonna do to make sure I get the part dark that I want dark is I'm gonna stipple. I'm gonna stipple right across this line. And then I'm gonna start swirling. And I'm gonna swirl so light-handed, like no pressure. I'm gonna skip some places. I'm gonna pinch my brush here and tap really, really lightly right there. So not getting on my yellow. And I'm gonna let that be feathery. So, again, same technique here, or same effect here and here, even though here I had too much green, so I had to work some white in through it. So you can do that either with gradiating pressure and different coats, or you can do it by running some white over top where you're wanting some highlights, right? So I wanna know if you have used highlights or lowlights. If you use that when you paint, like I'm curious to know if that's a technique you guys do a lot. Our last live that we did, I was really interested to hear that some of you had never heard of wet sanding or you'd not done that before. So I just want to know if you guys have used technique like this before, or if you do this and you do it a different way. Again, share your knowledge. We love to hear what you guys have to say. I love to learn from you as well. Okay, so that's all done. So what we're going to do is pull up our stencil. And this is where things get a little fun. Not that stenciling is not the fun part, but this is where you get to kind of just work and play and paint. And I swear I have a splinter. It's making me crazy. So normally, if you have watched our videos before and you have heard me say this, you would know that I like getting my hands dirty. I don't mind a little paint on my hands. I like it. But I will say, when I am working with brown with this next technique, it will stain your fingernails and make them look yellowy and yucky, and it's just, I don't like it. You can get that off. Someone, I think, actually gave us a tip one time. The last time I think I said this on a YouTube video we did, someone commented that I could use toothpaste, and I did that one time and it worked. So if you don't have gloves at home and you do this, you may use toothpaste and a toothbrush and it will come off. Or it'll come off in a few days, whatever comes first, right? But today I'm gonna wear gloves, and I'm gonna take this same brown that we've been using the whole time, and I'm actually gonna darken it just a little bit with some black. I'm just squirting a little bit in there. I'm not being super precise on my color mixing today. I also apparently have taken all my palette knives away from this place. So just a quick tip, if you don't have a palette knife, or you can't find one, or you're just not in the mood to go look for it, you can use the butt end of your brush for a small mix like this, and it'll work fine. Okay. Here we go. Got that. And I'm gonna water this down here. Just a little bit. And I'm gonna get 4 paper towels ready here. I will hopefully only need to use 3 of them, but sometimes it's good to be prepped for extra when you've got these yucky hands, because your hands are going to get wet with paint. So if you go to grab your paper towel roll, you're going to be in a mess, right? And I'm just going to mix the watery paint with my paper towel here. And then I'm going to dip in my water, get my paper towel get soaking wet. And so see my hands? It's fun. I think that's the fun part. I don't know. I know that some of the other people that paint here do not like to get their hands dirty. Are you a hands dirty person? You are okay with it? Or, I don't know. All right, now I'm gonna do this paper towel, and I'm gonna do that windshield wiper technique right there. And it's gonna be, ooh, a little blocky at first. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this because it's getting thin. Windshield wiper, straight down. All right, so that's okay. That's not gorgeous, but it's okay. It's a good place to start, right? Now I'm going to take just this plain brown. I need to, of course, move my hair when I have paint all over me. and add a little water to it. And so this is how I'm going to turn this white into an off-white. If you are ready. So taking this paper towel, and this is just a little bit lighter because I didn't mix the black into it. I'm going to go over the whole thing. Then I'm going to take this dry paper towel and I'm going to wipe quickly off the middle before it dries. I'm going to use it to blend in these as well. Often you just have to keep working, especially these corners, these edge places. You have to keep working them till you like them. So I'm going to do smaller strokes now on my corners here. And so if you can see right there on that one, I got real funky. So instead of letting it dry, as soon as I notice it, I'm just going to buffer it in with this dry paper towel, right? And be careful, I just laid my hand on my board. Be careful doing that. You might lay something wet from your hand on your board. And if you're like me, you'd be sad. I hate when that happens. It's not really that big of a deal, but if you're not doing it on purpose, it's never okay, right? It's always frustrating. So I'm just gonna kind of feather, do bigger strokes now. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to buffer in here, buffer in here. I'm going to be okay with that. And I'm going to work, so where I did this right here, I'm not going to work off the edge all the way, but I'm going to work off where I started coming into my board, because that'll give it darker than the middle and lighter than the outside, right? Okay. All right, so good. Okay, I think I'm gonna be done with that. And this kind of technique that I just used, you just have to work it until it's pretty. Work it until you like it. It's just gonna be a lot of rubbing that wet paper towel on and wiping it and smearing it back off until it looks like the right tone to you, okay? It's kind of the key there. I'm gonna make sure this is dry. It shouldn't take but just a second. While I'm blow drying, I would love to see if you like this project, if you're enjoying this stencil, what we're doing so far, give us some love, give us a heart, give us a thumbs up, let us know. And after we finish this up, I'll be sure to announce our giveaway as well. So if you wanted to be entered to win our giveaway really quick, we are doing 2 winners for our 5-pack of brushes today. So like and share and you can win one of these. Or if you like, share, and comment, you can be our grand prize winner, and I will announce that at the end of our video. So be sure to stay tuned. It's always something. All right, okay. So again, with this watery paint, it doesn't take very long to dry. I'm gonna grab a sanding block, and I'm just gonna lightly buffer along everything. I'm gonna kind of try and pull my edges in just a little bit, but I'm just lightly running it over the whole board. That helps blend things in. Running it along this corner. I'll do all 4 corners that same way. I'll run it heavily along the corners here as well. And that helps it look like rustic and antique if that's something you like. You don't have to do that. I personally love the way it looks, but not everybody does. spot right here that I did not like. So I'm gonna just take my sander and scratch off some heavy spots in that area to kind of mask it. And then I'm gonna feather out over top of it. Because you don't want the sanding marks to just like appear, right? So you sand them heavy and then you do it a couple times over just to blend them in. Or that's what I do. I don't know what you do. Tell me what you do. I'd love to hear it. All right, so then I'm gonna add some of those heavier gouge kind of spots on this. I don't want very many. Oh, this isn't like a super distressed board, but just like a few small places of like some of that background peeking through. Pretty, I think. I need to look at it because you always have to take a step back, right? I need one more. That is perfect. Okay. So one more, right? Always one more. Always room for more, huh? Okay, so we're at a spot now. We're gonna do our last thing here, but I just want to show you just that sanding. You could leave this board here and it would still be beautiful. You could stop your project right here and you've got distressing, you've got antiquing, you've got gradient stencil color. It's gorgeous. But because it's Lena, we're gonna spatter. So again, if you've ever watched our videos before, you know how much I love to spatter. It's my very favorite, and I'm gonna use this same palette paper. I did have a paper towel that I could just wipe that off, so it's no big deal. I throw some black on there, and I got way too much because I'm really not doing very much spatter. I got really excited about spattering, I guess. And I'm gonna drop in some water. I want my black color to be really true, so I'm gonna have more paint than I have water here, okay? I don't wanna accidentally turn my paint gray when it's drying because I had so much water in it this time. So we're gonna test off and see how that spatters. It might need a little bit more water. Woo, look at those big drops. So when you have too much paint and not enough water, you're gonna get big, big, big droplets like that. Like, here, let's do this again. Woo, get my hand right. So you see how big and fat those are? Now, that second drop off is closer to what I want, but I'm gonna add just like a touch more water. I'm even gonna put it over here, and I'm gonna bring it in with my brush. That's how much, like, I don't wanna mess it up. Perfect. Okay, and I always test off on my palette, and I just wanna give you a quick heads up about spatter. You need our White Wonder brush. You can get this on our website. Check out our description, and in the link there, it's gonna link you to our website and show you all the tools and products we use today. That way you can find everything with ease, right? All right, now we're ready to go. So I've got this big handled brush. You could use one of these if you have one, just something weighty. I'm gonna just sprinkle. And I'm gonna go off my board a little bit because I don't wanna get too far in yet. I'm not ready for all that. And I'm gonna add a bit more paint. Woo! And I am slinging my arms. I'm getting some motion here, sorry. You just wanna drop your brush and let it rebound itself. Don't be really careful slinging your arm. You'll get motion. In your so I am gonna have to paint my table a little bit here because I've got to be up here so that I get some direction in without going too far in my board, right? Now I'm gonna come up the side really gently, go along the top, again, really easy. And I'm gonna mix in more water now because I'm looking for thinner spatter. So I'm gonna make another little mixture here, just in the same area, but I'm looking for tinier droplets to sprinkle across my edges in my middle. Now, when you spatter, you do any kind of dots like this, they do take a while to dry, and they're so watery that I don't often like to do a blow dryer on them, because the blow dryer can move them, right? When they're big and chunky like the couple I have on here. So when I've got these really big blobs like I did today, I don't blow dry it. I just set the project aside and let it dry, usually overnight. I also want to show you really quick before we sign off today, talk about our giveaway and sign off today. I'm going to show you how to wash your White Wonder. So again, say you have it loaded. These are beautiful brushes and they clean a little bit different than these stencil brushes here. You're going to take your White Wonder, take it and push it and press it on the bottom of your bucket, not like you're trying to break it, but press it hard enough that you know you're fanning the brushes out. And you just kind of work it. Swirl it around a few times, every which direction you can, kind of working up and down when you're doing that. Come out and it's clean. So then what I do is I take a paper towel and I press off all the extra water, fan it back out because you don't want it like pressed together. We're not trying to seal it back up like it's brand new. White Wonders are actually better the more you use them. The older they are, the better they work usually. And then you just put it back in your bucket to let it dry standing up, and that's how you care for that one. Super easy, okay? Again, we have our finished project here. Beautiful. I'm gonna set it back here to dry because it's got those fresh spatters on it. Now I cannot seal it today. I would probably seal this one with that dark wax again if you have went and purchased that, or if you already had that at home. For a project like this that I'm wanting rich and warm colors, I would be using that dark wax on it. But again, you have to let that stenciling or that spattering dry. So, who's ready to know about our grand prize winner? I'm ready to know. So, today's grand prize winner is gonna get a tall porch sign stencil. Let's peek at it here. Got this big stencil. Ooh, and it's like got all the extras. This is so exciting. Okay, I am beyond excited about this tall porch sign. It is Merry Christmas, so it's a 3-part stencil. And then it comes with these. These are probably to replace the eye, correct? Yeah, so these can replace the eye. We have a snowflake. We have, what is this? A Christmas ornament. We have holly mistletoe kind of stuff here. There is a candy cane and a present. Oh my gosh, is that not the cutest little Christmas tree you've ever seen? That would be adorable. I love this one. If I were mine, I'd do that. Oh, and there's a fun little Santa. Oh, and I might change my mind. This snowflake is beautiful. Look at all that detail. So again, if you're our grand prize winner today, if you liked, shared, and commented, you will be entered to win this beautiful tall porch sign stencil pack. So be sure you did those 3 things really quick. And even if you're not our grand prize winner, if you liked and shared, you're going to be entered to win one of 2 of these brush packs. You get 5 brushes. For today's project, I didn't do it on camera, but when I painted the original, I used all 5 of these sizes. So if this is a project you're interested in, this brush kit is something you need. These are also available for sale, so just click the link in the description so you can go to the website and get yourself a set of these, okay? We'll also have what we're giving away to our winner, and we're gonna have the stencil we used today as well. So be sure you check those things out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a great time today. It was really great to hear from you guys. I hope to see you soon.